Goodness me, it happened. XRP dipped under $2 momentarily, but it looks like it's about to do it again. This looks like a pretty ugly head and shoulders situation building up here. But, it may not. But if you look at this, it sort of did that, recovered, did it again, recovered. I think I know why this is happening. Obviously, it's just following Bitcoin. Right, so I'm comparing it to Bitcoin here. The Bitcoin chart is the one in red, XRP in blue. You can see it's basically just doing the same thing. So XRP has been drawn down by the behavior of Bitcoin. So why is Bitcoin doing this? Well, there's a particular whale that's been exiting the market strategically. They're an old hand with loads of Bitcoin. And rather than panic sell like some people do, they've been sort of layering out over the week or 2 weeks or so and selling big chunks. But if you own thousands of Bitcoin, then you're bound to cause some issues when you do that, especially when the market makers and exchanges are letting it happen and they're not eating up the sales, or they're pulling off their orders so that the order book is thin enough such that this kind of dumping has an effect on the market. Because more evidence has actually come out that, a certain exchange especially really needs these liquidations, and they need the markets to dump in this way in order for them to be able to get back some of their money. Their balance sheet isn't looking so pretty, so they need these liquidations to basically take the money off of the people who are placing leverage trades on their platform. I'm not going to name them because I'm not trying to get sued, but I suspect you know who I'm talking about. Anyway, so this whale has been dumping systematically, and they're an old hand, and they've effectively moved their last chunk to Kraken today, and it totals about $1.3 billion. And this person is very wealthy, and they're exiting. Who knows what they're doing with the Bitcoin gains? Obviously, they're in massive profit if they've been around that long. It might be that they're buying XRP. Who knows? Maybe they're cycling into another token like XRP. Perhaps they're trying to buy a new island for Christmas. You never know. It's their money. Shout out to them for being patient and being strategic for so long and hodling. But, this is a very temporary thing. If you consider what's happening right now, this sort of stuff is happening now. Bitcoin dipping under 100 to 86,000 was it today? Quite low, but to be expected. It's still within the correction window, especially considering what's happening in the macro and what the market makers are doing. It's only a matter of time before it's eaten up. And again, we're a week or two away from it just going back to all-time highs. That's just the way Bitcoin does. Things could just switch at any time. Considering that November has also been a pretty negative month for outflows out of ETFs, even from the larger ones. But we know that ETFs are heating up again, especially when it comes to XRP ETFs. Perhaps some of these guys are exiting because they want to roll their ETFs the same way the whales would roll down, through the altcoins. Alt ETFs, should I say. So who knows? In the next few days, we should find out where the money goes, because their trackers are eagerly tracking to see what happens. So XRP ETFs coming. In fact, one, I think was Bitwise, launched today, and Brad Garlinghouse even retweeted them saying, the rush is about to start. Brad Garlinghouse reckons there's about to be big FOMO into XRP ETFs, and that this is going to culminate in a supply shock effectively when even larger ETFs get eventually released. So we shall keep our eyes on that. We're very bullish. I am. Dollar cost averaged today. I wish I hadn't done it before the dip. I have to wait till tomorrow before I can do it again. So we shall see. The price may have recovered, but dollar cost average too early. I got it about, $2.20 something cents. Didn't get it under $2, but tomorrow is another day. Okay. Especially we're heading into the weekend. Usually trade is a bit weak in the weekend. Volume is a bit weak in the weekends, even in crypto, because remember, a lot of crypto now is governed by Wall Street. And if they're at home, not at work, they're not trading. If the market is closed, they're less likely to be trading crypto either. So yes, there's still crypto trading from crypto people, retail, but the big influence that we've had from Wall Street means that there's a lot of Wall Street money also trading now, and that volume dies down over the weekend. So with the volume low and the order books thin and some whales dumping, I wouldn't be surprised to see another dip that is actually quite massive over the weekend. And perhaps that $1.50 prediction might come true eventually. But whatever happens, we know the only way is up. Another reason why, of course, this isn't over is December is looking very, very good for crypto. A lot of people going to be buying a lot of crypto. Countries are buying, banks are buying. Banks are now allowed in the United States to hold BTC, so they're going to be buying. We have states that are trying to buy BTC for various things. Globally, we have entities like, the Central Bank of the Czech Republic buying $1 million worth of Bitcoin for testing purposes. I expect to see that sort of thing across the board, even within companies in that country and other countries in Europe. And look at this. This is actually quite big news, right? Warren Davidson, who was a congressman in the United States, has pushed a bill to let Americans pay taxes in Bitcoin. Now, on first glance, when I first saw this, when I saw the headlines before actually reading the article, I thought this was quite dumb because why would someone pay in Bitcoin? Because, why wouldn't they just pay in regular dollars and leave their Bitcoin in hodl position? Because when you sell your Bitcoin, even to pay for stuff, you are triggering the tax payability of it, right? You're triggering tax, a taxable event. Unless, of course, the congressman has put in the bill that particular function doesn't trigger taxes, which makes absolute sense, which actually is in the bill, which is why it's extremely huge. Otherwise, why would you want to say sell $1,000 worth of Bitcoin to pay $1,000 worth of taxes and then triggering another 50 or 100 or 150 or $200 worth of taxes again, which you then have to pay again? That's just basically overpaying your taxes by using Bitcoin. Why wouldn't you just use regular dollars? But this particular bill, according to this, to the proposal, taxpayers would be given the freedom to settle federal liabilities by transferring Bitcoin to the Treasury or certified financial agent by the Secretary of the Treasury. According to the bill, no capital gains tax would be realized during the transfer. Instead, it would be recognized as the fair market value of Bitcoin at the time of the transaction, and the procedure would resemble the foreign currency remittance procedures currently in use. Absolutely huge. Finally, a bill with some common sense. Basically, this is another way of the government trying to acquire Bitcoin from people. So it's very clever. A lot of people would do this, right? Because it doesn't trigger taxable event, but you give up your Bitcoin to the government. Now, the government obviously is not going to sell your Bitcoin. They're going to hold your Bitcoin, knowing that 10 years down the line, Bitcoin would have done a 10x and you would have paid 10x the taxes that you should have just hodled and paid in dollars instead. But hey, it is what it is. What this does is at least recognize cryptocurrencies as a proper currency, proper money, as opposed to, digital points or scam tokens from Silk Road or what have you, which is what the stance of the government of the United States was prior to recent times. So, the strategic Bitcoin reserve proposed as a national asset. So, like I said before, this is just going to go into the national pot, is another way for the government basically to get Bitcoin OTC. This is great. Obviously, it doesn't affect the market, doesn't spike the market because there's no selling and there's no buying. There's just a transfer from wallet to wallet, which is equivalent to just moving money from one wallet to the other within your own portfolio. So it's got its positives and negatives. As it is now, the market is a bit low, but I have good vibes for XRP and crypto, even for the rest of this month. Not financial advice. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.